Hey y'all, it's Catalina. I'm back with another video. In today's video, we're going to be going over my 2026 journal and planner ecosystem. I'm trying to keep it very streamlined this year. So, with that being said, let's just get into the video. If you watched my video from last year, you know that I used this Moterm leather cover, olive green, and my planner size was the Happy Planner Mini disc bound planner. It was great. Lots of pockets for all of the stickers and my sticker tweezers and everything. There's even a pocket up in the top and pockets in the back. And this was wonderful when I was sitting at my desk and was not leaving the house. I was able to just grab this and get all my planner things in one go and start filling it out and journaling and things like that. But I moved last year and I found that this was really bulky to have in my bag when I was running errands and exploring the neighborhood. I also traveled and went to some events and tried to be out of the house as much as possible. And I found that I wanted something even smaller than that. So I decided to try a quarter letter or A6 disc bound planner this year. And I know this is at the top, but I want to go to this because this is a Supernote. It's an e ink notebook. Think of it like a notebook with a little bit extra functionality. Do not think of it as like an e ink iPad because that's not what it is. So the reason I want to go here is because it has the mind map for the video. I'll explain where the Supernote fits into this ecosystem because I will be using it more this year. So the A6 disc bound, the pros for it are very, very small and portable. So this is my like everyday carry bag within a bag. So this has my lotion, my chapstick, my battery bank, tampons or whatever in here. So this is so small that it fits even in this. And I can throw this with the planner inside and pens or whatever inside of a bag. And that's it. That's all I have to carry. And I was like, okay. I tried it out for a few weeks and I was like, I enjoy just how small this is. It's also even less overwhelming to decorate and fill out than a Happy Planner Mini. That's something that I found filling out stickers and trying to figure out the layout of a page and making sure I journal as much as possible. Having a big size piece of paper can be overwhelming. So this is so small. All of the stickers I use already fill up the page so much. So I don't have that issue. Now I do make my own planner inserts. Okay, yeah. So I can show you this page. Let's lock this. I can show you this page. So for example, these are 4 stickers and it took up a lot of the space on the spread. And that's fine because that means there's less it's less overwhelming for me to figure out what I want to put on the pages. So I really like this one. This is a sticker I got. It's like a New York City sticker. I decided to use the map as an actual like map of the places that I went to for the holidays and early January time period. So every time I went somewhere by myself or with family and friends, I put a little star on it and I just wrote what it was. So I really like being able to finally use the sticker. It's a big sticker. But as you can see, it takes up pretty much half the page. And it was very, very nice to just, boom, not have to worry about that. So instead of just listing all of the places that I went to, I was finally able to use that sticker. And yeah, this is just like a little journal entry of me talking about what if I just went outside as much as I possibly could during this winter holiday. And I did that and I had so much fun. I have another like 5 pages of stuff, but some of them has like here, I can show you. I can show you this page. It's just like I printed little stickers or whatever of places that I went to. But I have another spread on the other side that has like me and my family and friends. And it's very, very cute, but I'm not showing you their faces. So it's something that I can refer to. And honestly, I had such a fun time making it, but it also was not overwhelming because it's so small. So far, I'm really enjoying this quarter letter size. I plan on continuing to use it, and I don't plan on getting a leather cover for it because Portability is key for me this year. So that's one. So keeping in the same vein as like very small, portable, something with low friction, I'm going to keep using my iPhone reminders app with the shortcut. So I made a video about this where you tap the back of your phone 3 times and then this comes up. This is a text box that asks you to input something in there, whatever you write in there and hit done will go to your reminders list. When I was out and about, that is what I was using. So to keep my grocery list together, to keep like reminders of things I had to go, or if I had to pick up a package from the post office or things like that, that all went in the shortcut in the back tap shortcut. So the iPhone is going to continue to be part of this ecosystem. I just found that having this worked really well for me to cap as an initial capturing system. I go through it once a week to make sure, okay, I've gotten everything off the grocery list. I don't have anything super urgent pending. And it's also a good place to put things that I'm not sure I want to do anything with that idea. I just want to write it down instead of having lots of random little post it notes or information on different notepads and things like that. So the iPhone reminders app with the shortcut is definitely staying. The next thing I want to talk about is ReadWise. ReadWise is a paid app. They have a light tier and a pro tier. I use the light tier, and you can use ReadWise to kind of collect information or little snippets from the web and things like that. I mostly use it to centralize all of my quotes and annotations. So I have a Kobo Libra 2, and any of the annotations that I make on the Kobo will automatically sync to my ReadWise, so I don't have to worry about exporting them from my Kobo. I just go onto ReadWise and it shows all of the annotations that I took on my library books. I also like collecting using ReadWise to collect annotations from physical books, so that way I don't have to type them up later. So I'm gonna insert like a screen recording video here. Okay, so the screen record is going to be here. So this is what it looks like. To add highlights, you go to the add highlights section, and then you can add via text or photo. So if you have some text copied from like maybe you're reading on the Libby app on your phone and you copied the text, you can just paste it into there. I don't use that. I use the add via photo because you do this. You take a picture and then you can, you know, move this up to select what exactly you want. Then you're like save highlight. You can also, I don't know if you saw, you can go turn the page. So like let's say your quote is on a different, isn't starts on one page or you will turn the page and then add more. Right. And then save the highlight and then it adds it all together here. Then you would go to next and then you would save it to the book. Right, add a new book. This one is The Poetic Edda. Poetic Edda? Edda. Oh, this one. Fine, I'll add it, but I'm going to delete it because it's not a real passage that I want to save. But that's how you would save physical library book annotations and things like that. So I was doing that in the Notes app and then moving those annotations into the ReadWise app. And I was like, this is dumb. Just do it in the ReadWise app. So that works really, really well for library books because you can't write in library books. So for example, I'm reading this from the library and I use like index cards, or these are clear post-its or whatever if I'm not sure if I want to save this passage necessarily, But when there is something that I'm like, I know I definitely want to save, I'll just take a picture of it immediately and put it in the ReadWise. But after every chapter, I go through and I'm like, okay, do I actually want to save that quote? Yes, no. If I say yes, then I take a picture of it, put it in the ReadWise. And that way I know I don't have to write it out by hand. It doesn't really interrupt the flow of me reading. So for library books, that really does help. And for my own physical books as well, I do that because no, I don't want to type up the quote. So the next thing is probably the only thing that I am not sure is going to make it to the end of the year, and that is this Starship Spaceship notebook. Um, this notebook is I'm really trying to use it because it is so pretty. I got this from the Coach Outlet store, so it's not available. So if you saw my reading journal video from last year, you know that the plan was to make this a very pretty but simple, flexible, guided reading journal where if like I made these stickers myself and so this says memorable scene and if the memorable scene took up six lines, I would be able to write the 6 lines and then move on to the what I like section of the review. But I ended up not using it because again, I was moving. I had so many things on my mind. I had so many errands to run. I wasn't in the house that much. So I just ended up having a bunch of empty pages. So I didn't really use it, but this planner is just too pretty. I really, really like the pages for this planner. So I'm going to try to use it for media that I consume at home. We will see if this ends up staying in the ecosystem. I'm not sure, but I really like this cover and I want to try now that I'm a little bit more settled into my place. Okay. We have two more things in the ecosystem. So the next thing is this Supernote. So that's what this is, the e-ink tablet. This Supernote will replace this other notebook that I was using to keep track of my nonfiction notes. So for nonfiction, I would take notes by hand in like a half letter size notebook. But I find myself never returning to those pages and like never flipping through it. I am someone who is very project based. Like I get in my head that I want to do this thing, so I will learn everything I need to know about that project, get bored, and then move on to another project. But then I'll come back to the first project and be like, okay, I have to start over because I don't know where those notes are or they're in a different notebook. It's been a year, it's been 2 years. Maybe I got rid of that notebook. So with the Supernote, all of those notes can be in here. And this is also very lightweight. So if I am out at a cafe or library taking notes on a nonfiction book or something, then I can bring this with me and it's not going to be very heavy in my bag. So, for example, I was at the New York Botanical Gardens Library. If you didn't know they had a library, they do. And I was reading a middle grade book called World of Mushrooms at that library. You can borrow books too, but it wasn't super long, so I decided to just sit there, read it, and take notes. So the author of the book is Pauline Payne, and Pauline talks about the different kinds of mushrooms. I also here, why don't we? It's charging, so I can't. So the different kinds of mushrooms right here. This is the stylus, by the way. This is I added this strips. It's a pen and stylus combo. So this is the pen, and then this is how I know that this is a stylus and it's safe to write on the screen. So that way I don't accidentally draw on my screen with the pen part. So in the book, Pauline talks about that there's 4 kinds of mushroom and also mentions that all mushrooms are fungi, but not all fungi are mushrooms. So a saprophyte is a type of mushroom, a symbiotic is a type of mushroom, parasitic, and lichen. I'm not sure how to say that. So the reason why I want to use the Supernote for nonfiction things like that is because when you tap it, you get an additional Think of it like a little Post-it note, an extra Post-it note where you can write more information on here. So this is the handwriting section. Um, and then the Post-it, it's called a digest, and then the digest is named whatever text you had it named. So, for example, I'll write text. Right. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, you can rotate it, you can convert it to text because this is not definitely not my handwriting, or you can recognize it as what's called a digest. So the digest is the thing that I was saying is kind of like the Post-it note, the digital Post-it note that attaches to the mind map invisibly. You can add the digest to, we're gonna add it to World of Mushrooms just 'cause, and you'll see that now it has this underline part. So then you tap it, and that's how it triggers the extra section where you can write more about the thing that you wanna elaborate on. So the reason why I found this really helpful, just gonna get rid of it, is because for nonfiction books like this, science books or things that have lots of words that I don't understand what they mean, you can just turn it into a digest and then elaborate without having to clutter up the mind map. And another thing that I enjoyed was that all of your digests, you can categorize them by books. So I'd made a mind map in my World of Mushrooms book, and this is the saprophytes, the reproductive cycle, the lichen, the parasites, and you can get to it this way as well. And then that way you'll know that a saprophyte mushroom is the type that feeds on dead plants like old leaves or bark or animals and may even feed on animal droppings. You don't necessarily have to go to the mind map. You can also export these, by the way, as a PDF to like your computer and do whatever it is that you need. So I really like that functionality for my nonfiction books specifically. I don't take those kind of notes for fiction books necessarily. And because one of my goals for this year is to try and incorporate more nonfiction media into my life, I feel like the Supernote is going to be really useful for that and also useful for my videos. For me, I find it's easier to have a mind map of the video concept rather than a script because I found writing a script takes a really long time and I just always go off topic. So we're trying this out. It's not an iPad. It's a lot slower as you can see in real time. It really forces you to slow down and take your time. It is a notebook with some extra functionality. If you have questions about the Supernote, there's a bunch of videos on here on YouTube, but you can also always ask me in the comment section. I'm happy to answer. And like I said, this is an A5X, so it's not even the newer one. This is the older Supernote. Okay, so we've talked about my A6 slash quarter letter. We've talked about ReadWise. We've talked about the iPhone shortcut. We've talked about the Supernote. And yeah, the spaceship notebook. The last thing to talk about is my Slipbox. So eventually down the line, I want to write publicly. I want to either write essays, a book, or a Substack, something that I put out for people to read. I'm not ready to do that yet, but in order to start preparing myself for that eventuality, I decided to start keeping a physical Zetelkasten slash Slipbox. So I'm going to just move this out of the way. It is, it's empty. Okay. the goal of this year is to try and fill this up. So this is where I'm going to be keeping my notes and quotes that I want to save for when I eventually start writing. It has taken me a really long time to kind of get a handle on Zetelkasten, the system. There are so many videos on YouTube on it. I'm not going to get into it too much right now, but this is my Zettelkast has two sections, three sections actually. Projects, Zettel slash I'm going to call them slip notes, and then media notes. Again, this is pretty empty because I just set it up and I have some examples in here of how I plan on using them, but I don't have that many actual quotes and things. These are just extra posted notes, not posted, index cards. I will bring them closer to the camera. So my idea bank is right. So some of these tabs right here are like my idea bank, a curiosity map, a media reservoir, life notes, things related to my YouTube channel, bookbinding things, iPod modding things, and completed projects. So the plan with this is, remember how I said I had a bunch of notes in different notebooks and I would move on to a different project and forget all of those notes or forget where I had that. This is an effort to try and fix that. One of the things that I did last year was crochet. And in order to crochet some more complicated patterns, I needed to read some diagrams. So I made flashcards on reading crochet diagrams. So, for example, this is a slip stitch. Yeah. And these are not like, this is just my regular fast handwriting. I didn't try to make these cute or anything. This is a single crochet. Sorry, I know, no, I cheated, but like, yeah. So these are flashcards that I made in order to like learn the diagrams, and I didn't want to throw them away, so I just decided to put them in here. I had to take a break from crochet because I crocheted so much that I gave myself a little tennis elbow. But when I go back to crocheting and I go back to the diagrams and I need a little refresher on those flashcards, I know I can go to my like crochet tab and get those flashcards again. I also, have a couple of other tips and tricks that I picked up from different videos. And when I go back to it after I'm taking, my health break, I can just go back there. Same thing with like modding iPods, bookbinding, all of that stuff that I watch a bunch of videos on, get a bunch of tips and tricks. Where do I put that? I put that here. My curiosity bank is going to be for things, people, places, maybe not places, but mostly people that I want to learn a little bit more about. So I'm listening to podcasts or reading a book and somebody mentioned somebody that I want to learn more about. I make a little index card and put it there. So for example, Magnus Hirschfeld was one of the first advocates for gay and trans rights. The Nazis burned the Institute for Sexual Science down. They burned it down in Germany, which is what the institute that Magnus created. And I was like, learned about him, I think from Monstrum on PBS. And I was like, okay, Magnus sounds like an interesting person. I want to learn more about them and I want to learn more about the institute that they created. So when I am looking for something to learn about, I go to my curiosity bank. The media reservoir is going to be for a list of media that I want to check out and the source. It's basically the same thing. So if I'm listening to a podcast or watching a video or something and somebody mentions a specific book that I should check out or I feel like it'll be more aligned with me, that will get an index card and then I'll be able to check that out. The reason why this is empty is because the list is currently in here. So I find that I experience this a lot with nonfiction books. The writer will be talking about something that's related to the book that I'm like, oh, I should check that out later. So as I'm reading, I gather the list and post-it notes in the back over here. Just roughly write it down so it doesn't interrupt my reading. And then at the end of the chapter, I put it all together in an index card and have it listed with the book name at the top. So Everything Must Go is a book by Dorian Linsky. And these are all of the media things that he mentions in the book that I'm like, oh, I might want to check that out. Whether it's a song, it's a book, it's a poem, whatever, an essay, that all goes on the index card and that will go in the media reservoir. So that way, when I'm like, what was that, the name of that movie that Everything Must Go, the book was saying that I should check out? Or if I really enjoyed reading this book and I'm like, it's kind of like further reading on the topic, I can go to this and I know why am I here? Like if I'm like, why am I reading Darkness by Lord Byron? Is because it was mentioned in this book. So that's why there's nothing in there because I use it as a bookmark for the book. So now we're moving on to the Zetelkasten slash Slipnotes part of the index card. Zetelkasten is a personal tool for thinking and writing. It has hypertextual features to make a web of thoughts possible. The difference to other systems is that you create a web of thoughts instead of notes of an arbitrary size, form, and emphasize on connection, not collection. Like I said, I'm not going to go into the Zettelkasten system necessarily in this video, but just know that this is a way that I will be able to keep track of the quotes that I have and my thoughts on the quotes. So, for example, I am going to be saving quotes from media that I'm consuming, right? So, this is an example card so I know how to set it up when I start saving quotes from here. Quotes in here. So this is the example card is The Good Place TV show, season 4, episode 12. I'm not even sure if that's the right episode, and I did not write the quote exactly. I'm paraphrasing. Chidi says the wave returns to the sea, right? Context here is needed. Again, that's for my future self. So though the quotes are going to go here, and then my original thought on the quote is going to be separate from the quote. There is a reason for this. Trust me, there's a reason. We don't have the time. We do not have the time to explain it all in this video. But my original thought about that quote is that Chidi's comment about how the wave returns to the sea, that is what being alive is. It's such a beautiful moment. It's the joining of science and spirituality. The science is that we are comprised of molecules of the people who came before us. The spirituality is that we're all connected. It was just something that like literally came to mind when I was watching the show, right? So I was like, okay, perfect. I'm going to use this as my example. So the goal of this year is to fill out this box with quotes and original thoughts. So that way, when I am sitting down to write an essay or a Substack or a book, I don't know, I'm not drawing from nothing. I'm not going through a bunch of notebooks trying to figure out what was that thing that I wrote about, whatever. And then with the Curiosity Bank, I'll also be like, oh, I actually need to expand on my thoughts on Everything Must Go, the book. Where else can I go to get some more? That's the Curiosity Bank. That's the Media Bank. I'm probably doing a bad job at explaining this, but if it makes sense to me, that's the only person that matters. I will, of course, give you updates on how this is going. If you have any questions about Zettelkasten systems or my hodgepodge version of it, please let me know. But there will be a dedicated video that goes through this in more detail. We don't have the time. So we have covered everything. We've checked the mind map to make sure. I think my goal for this year is just to slow down, take a little bit more notes, and really invest in my future brain and my future self's writing. So that was my 2026 journal slash planner ecosystem. That is the plan. Of course, I will keep you updated. I will let you know what changes because things are going to change. I will let you know how the Slipbox goes. We're going to be consuming other medias like TV shows, documentaries, in a way that analyzes it so that I can take some notes, link those ideas in my Slipbox, and then hopefully come out with one essay or a book. I don't know. I'm not limiting myself, and you shouldn't either. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.